the unifying characteristic of good population policies when it comes to fertility policies in particular, the key characteristic is to empower people to do what they want to do. If you focus on the population trends and you institute policies where you're trying to bend the population curve up or down in some way, first of all, you'll be late. Because of this issue of population momentum, your policies will come 20 years after you should have started. And by the time you have an impact and then you start to think you're going too far, at that point, you'll try to reverse things, but you'll also be 20 years too late in trying to reverse the policy to stop the over impact, the excessive impact of your original policies. And I think that's what we're observing in China effectively. They began later than they should. If they wanted to reduce population growth in a steady basis, they probably should have begun 20 years earlier and done it more gently. And then they did it so aggressively and so effectively that they really changed the trajectory to the point where they became concerned. And now they're trying to, moderate that and avoid a significant collapse of population. But again, they're making the changes 20 years too late. There's so much momentum in these population trends that you have to do things in advance and gradually. Don't overreact. I think overreacting and trying to control the population trend, bend it this way, bend it that way. The best policies have been, I believe, the ones that have empowered people to control the number of children that they wish to have and the timing of their births. And this happens through, first of all, educating people, letting them know about the options, giving women other options in life rather than just being mothers. And then also by providing access to the means of control, the means of fertility control, family planning services. That the more that people have access to those and the more that they're educated, then in the high fertility countries, they tend to reduce the level of fertility. As women become educated and have access to contraceptives, birth rates tend to come down. In populations that are now at very low levels of fertility and that are facing a prospect of possible decline, again, it really comes down to helping people do what they want to do. Because when we've taken surveys of those populations, we've often observed that the desired family size is somewhat higher than what's actually being achieved. So people in many of the low fertility populations of the world, they're not achieving the family size that they would like in many cases. And it's a question of, it's just too difficult to have children and to raise children in some of today's societies when you have to work and you have two parents in the labor force and you have commuting and you have all these demands and the demands of children and keeping children in school and taking them to all their activities and all this, this becomes difficult. And so the countries that have been the most effective in addressing this latter set of issues, trying to make life more amenable to having children and to raising children while also holding down a job with two parents holding down jobs, I really would look to the Scandinavian countries. I think they've gone the farthest in terms of creating family support programs that help people to balance childbearing and work at the same time. And this doesn't mean just paying a baby bonus or something, it doesn't mean just giving somebody $1,000 when they have a third child or something. What really matters is helping people in the course of everyday life to manage the challenges of raising children. So it means childcare, for example, and it means flexibility in work hours, and it means school programs that help with childcare. So, and there's one other aspect of this where the Scandinavian countries, I believe, excel, which is that in some countries, the challenge is really, it falls on women. Women who are trying to hold a job and also bear most of the responsibility for raising children and for managing the household. And one thing that's changed in the Scandinavian countries, I believe more than elsewhere, is the ideas of around gender roles. And that now you find much more egalitarian attitudes and behaviors where men and women share more equally, not only in the work world and bringing home the bacon, as we say, but also in managing the household and sharing household chores, sharing the tasks around raising children. That this addressing issues of gender inequality becomes very important in order to help people achieve the family size that they want to have in these low fertility populations.